Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, intuitive coach and founder of the Awakened Goddess Academy. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Kelly Harrell is the owner and founder of Money Tree Academy. Her company was born out of her burning passion to help women avoid the financial and life disempowerment she suffered 20 years ago. Using her unique framework, she mentors women on a path of financial confidence and security that is feminine, holistic, spiritual, and highly practical, giving them a clear, actionable path to grow their own money trees. Now let's welcome Kelly to the show. Welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful, conscious conversations on the leading edge. Today I have Kelly joining us, and she's going to be talking about what's limiting your financial success, what you can do about it, and why having a money orchard is important. So, welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. It is such an honor and a joy to be here today. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, my pleasure. I love talking about money because money is something that most of us could agree that we want more of, right? It's like,
Yes, you
yeah,
bet.
yeah. And it also seems like it really troubles a lot of people. Like they feel stuck around it or they feel limited in some way. So I'm really excited to see or get your perspective on what's holding us back and really what we can do about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a juicy conversation. And I have approached this from a lot of different ways. And I have to tell you, I've been thinking about some of these questions for years and years and years. I want to take your listeners back about 20 years ago. And and I had walked into my home. It was a warm, sunny afternoon, and I had just come from a counseling session, a marriage counseling session, except it was something that I was attending alone. And in that session, I realized that there were some real issues with my marriage, and if my spouse wouldn't go to this session with me, that we probably didn't have a marriage left anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I walked into the home and I walked upstairs and into the kitchen, and I found this envelope sitting right there on the table. And it had my name printed on it in all caps, black ink. And as I picked up the envelope, there was a thickness to it that made my heart sink.
Hmm.
It was from my husband. And I just knew that something emotional was about to come out. And long story short, there was an emotional affair that was happening, and my world came crashing down. And I was in a place, and in that single moment, not only was my marriage clearly going to end, but I had set myself up in such a situation that I'd given up my career path for him. I lived in a home on which my name was not on the mortgage, and I had very little opportunities to earn real money. So in like a single swoop, I was totally and completely disempowered. And so I've spent these last 20 years trying to unravel what actually happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a number of things. This is really what I've come about is important for women.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that we think about money. We always want our own kind of money tree. And everybody says money doesn't grow on trees. And I say, yes, it does. The paradigm shift here is that you have to know that you are the tree.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin to think about yourself as the money tree and not something that's outside of you, everything starts to change. So I want to show you kind of what a money tree looks like. And I'm
Yes.
going to share with you how that relates to the story that I just shared. So this is a tree, and it's kind of in winter time. And I wish I had one that had roots hanging off of it, but I don't. So a money tree down here in the root system, this is where the stories and the things that we have inherited from our parents and in our childhood. It's it's the stories, the mindsets, and the beliefs that we've adopted in our lives that are affecting the entire aspects, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, all of it, the blossoms on our tree. And until we can understand what's happening down here underneath the tree and in the soil, this background of our life, it's very hard to affect change on the rest of your tree.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the trunk of the tree is where this is our livelihood. This is where we choose the work that we are to do in the world, whether it's for pay or not for pay. This is how we feel fulfilled and whole. And then if we're doing our work for pay, then right here at the bases of the branches is where I show clients that this is where your money collects. This is where we make money. This is where all of our income starts to flow into. And then out here on these branches and into the leaves, these are the dreams that we are seeking to fulfill, the joys that help our lives feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
It's a
this has
beautiful tree.
become,
I love it.
isn't it? It's a gift from my mom, and I love the tree, but I have like little things of trees like everywhere. So it's just this huge fascination for me. And so when I was in my marriage, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this picture or not right here. This is
Hmm.
like what my tree looked like. So I had very little root system because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand what the governors were on my life and how I was limiting myself and why I was doing it. My trunk of my tree was not growing straight. I gave my life over to someone else's life and followed his dream, his money tree. And then I had no branches. I had very little income and no branches, and I had completely let go of my own dreams. So I had this sick little tree that was happening, and that is why I was feeling so disempowered because at all four levels of my tree, I had completely blown it. So what are those things that are going on in sides of our trees, and what are the things? And some of it are things that are obvious,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the things that are going on inside of our trees as women, because that's really my big passion is working with women. Some of those things are invisible. And so they're like these invisible governors, restrictors, limiters, or even dictators, if you will, that are hindering aspects of our success with money, on our how we think about ourselves and how we believe, how we show up in the world, how we handle money, and what how capable we feel to be able to go into and achieve these big giant branches in our trees.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of those things are with our identity. And I've identified like these, I guess it was like six or seven different aspects through research and through interviews that I did with women. And identities, so if you think about it, social identities, how do our friends see us? These are things that can affect how we show up with money, because we think to ourselves, if I get more successful than my friend, what's my friend going to think about me? And so, it's that tall poppy syndrome. People are going to chop you down if you do that. And women who have this need to be liked can be very limited by those social identities.
Sure.
Another can be like your religious identities. So if you're involved, say, with a church or some other type of spiritual organization that puts women at a notch below or not even to work, then you've got a religious identity that is culturally built in and silently, unconsciously agreed to, that's limiting how you feel about yourself. These identities can go into cultural, they can go into professional. We see that a lot in organizations, companies, where women are they are put through trainings and things around being nice and being good managers, which many of them probably already are,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not given the training, they're not given the mentoring and the hand up by the men to develop themselves in terms of money. So professional identities have women getting limited in the corporate workplace, and that's why we don't see enough of them at the highest leadership levels. We've got this whole band of women that sit at managerial levels in their work, but not necessarily at the highest levels. And we even see that in the entrepreneur space, where women are on a spectrum of playing smaller time, where more of the big names are the men that are at the top. So
Mm-hmm.
there's just this thing around these identities that are constricting us. Another one is stakeholders. So as women, we have a lot of stakeholders in our lives. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we're mothers, if we're wives, if we're children, then we have parents that we are seeking to please and who may need us, especially as they get on into their geriatric years. That care starts to fall to women. The child care is very culturally designed to fall to women. The housekeeping, the cooking, the taking care of the home, the nurturing the sick. That I asked my daughter one time, "What are mommies for?" And she said, "Oh, mommies are for loving and caring." And so I'm a money coach, right? And my daughter is telling me this. Mommies are for loving and caring. And I said, "Well, then what are daddies for?" And she said, "Daddies are for fun and buying you gifts." Whoa, I'm a money coach, and my own daughter is getting this cultural message,
Yeah.
right? Around the role of women in our life. And so uh, we have all these stakeholders. So my daughters unconsciously are holding me to being this loving, caring mom and judging me on that set of criteria. To
Mm.
me, that's huge
Yeah.
when the daddies are out there in the world, doing these other things, even though I'm working just as hard.
Well, and they're having the
So
fun too.
yeah,
No
yeah, we're having
fair.
the fun too. That's
Making the
right.
money and
And
having fun.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, darn it. I want to switch. There's
Yeah.
times I think a lot of women would agree with that. Like we would really like to switch roles sometimes and do something different, right? So and so these things show up in marital, they show up in our families, like the expectations of our parents, to be there for them. Um, so there's just, and socially too, women need other women to talk to and socialize with. So these are all the stakeholders that are in our lives that are holding expectations of us that we may not want as we try and make this transformation into being more successful with money.
Hmm.
Um, and
Well,
another one, so
and
that,
then
yes,
one thing I notice is that women have the tendency to find other women to help them rationalize their limitations.
yes, beautiful, yes,
And
yes,
and
that's right.
and
And
yeah, we argue for these limitations that we have because XYZ, this is why this isn't happening. And
yes,
yeah, so I can see how all of these things that you're talking about gives us, in a sense, more things to say, hey, this is why I'm not doing it. This is why I'm living small. This is why I'm
right.
not achieving greatness. Yeah.
Yeah. And these things are real. These things are real and they are wrapped and threaded through our lives. But until we are conscious of them, that we are becoming conscious observers of what is occurring and what we are unconsciously agreeing to, we can't change it.
Hmm.
We have to bring it out into the open, and we have to say, hey, wait a minute. okay, this is not, I didn't know I had agreed to this. Can we back up? Because I want this to be different.
Right, and
So,
I can see how this would, just in talking about it and thinking about it, can really inspire maybe sadness or frustration, anger, even. Like I
yeah,
didn't, like you say,
yes,
I didn't sign up for this. Why do I have to deal
yeah,
with all this? And then, especially if we're not even aware of it.
yes. And I'm glad you brought that up because those are very useful emotions that sometimes there is grieving. I find that happens with a lot of clients that not realizing that, wow, I can't believe I let it get to this place, or I can't believe I had this happen. And that's what I want to help women avoid.
Hmm.
What happened to me 20 years ago, I will never let happen again because of what it tore apart in me. And there were agreements that I made that I had no idea I was making.
Hmm.
And until I started to piece it together and understand my world through a tree, through a system, then it didn't make sense.
Well,
So I mean
and
there's just go ahead.
and I'm glad that you share your story because, I think about all of the women that are out there that are in a similar situation
Yeah.
where maybe
Yeah.
they have stayed at home with the children, and so they've kind of let go of that one money stream, or they
Yes.
they don't have like a security, a financial security outside of their relationship or their marriage. And then what you were saying
That's right.
about not being on the deed and the titles, and what a precarious
Oh,
position that is.
it was terrifically precarious. And
Yeah.
and I just didn't realize. I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do. It would, which is oftentimes that we're trying to heal what we witnessed with our own parents. And so I was disempowering myself and repeating some patterns that I'd witnessed. And I mean, so it can go very deep
The beauty
because
is that as soon as you have that awareness, then you can it starts shifting it energetically. I mean, simply by having that knowledge
have the awareness.
and
That's
having
right.
these,
Yes.
oh yeah, I can totally relate to that. Oh, maybe I should take a look.
Oh, yes. 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 So it's just bringing it into awareness. Once you have it in awareness, let those feelings that you have come through because they're important and they're valid and they give you something to bounce off of,
Hmm.
to push away from, which is a useful place to start. To push against something is a useful place to start with things. It's not the way that we always want to be, but it's a useful starting spot is pushing against.
Well, and I think that the bottom line issue seems to be what we're claiming for ourselves, and not just women, but
Hmm.
men, because we all have to be willing to own our value. And that is a huge thing that I think that we've
Yeah.
been socialized to
Yeah.
maybe minimize or undervalue. And so I think that
Yes.
I would love to talk about that piece. It's like,
Hey,
how do we
sure.
really own that value and
Yeah.
take
So this
take
what you're
charge? I
talking
mean,
about.
yeah.
So this is that trunk of the tree that you're talking about. So taking charge is owning and understanding what's been happening for us, what's kind of built in, and then choosing and healing any of that that's down here, and then coming into this space right here where you're looking at what are your values? What's your story? What are your strengths, your gifts, your talents, your abilities? Why are you this amazing being that you are? I mean, you've got to bring that out to the surface and claim that for yourself. And so when we can build, I mean, do you remember that little picture of that wimpy turned tree that I had? And
I
I'd
love
given it
that
my
picture.
pathway.
Because the reason why is because I think we could all, and you probably do this with your clients, but we can all like sit and be with our tree, what it would look like.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
that would be like a fun experience to kind of intuitively be guided into creating that and drawing it and seeing what does it look like, and then what do I need to do to improve this.
Ah, there you go. And that is the experience I want to give you. Would you like to do that now?
Okay, yes, I'm totally game to play. This sounds like fun.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, and those that if you're watching or listening, you can follow
Mhm.
along. Of course, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but you'll
That's
have to
right.
play later.
You have to play later. That's right, because it's true. When on a podcast, a lot of people are listening while they're driving. Um, so those who are listening might find it valuable to stand up. I'm just going to sit just because we're here on video, and you might
Yeah.
wish to do so as well. So if you're sitting or if you're standing, I mean, go ahead and just be comfortable. Those who are driving, obviously you have to keep your eyes open. So
Yeah.
just play along and maybe come back and listen to this later. So everybody just go ahead and close your eyes right now and take a couple deep breaths. And just kind of drop down into that center place, wherever that is for you, and helps you feel kind of like in this moment. And slowly start imagining and telling yourself, I am a money tree. Me. I am the money tree. And now notice out of the bottoms of your feet, feel your feet just pressing down on the ground. And imagine out of the bottoms of your feet are growing these rich roots that are going down into the soil. There's some things that are in that soil that you don't wish to be there any longer, and those can be healed, and they can be used and recycled and leveraged in powerful ways. And just feel the roots coming out of your tree and out of your feet, going down to the earth, feeding into the network of the money orchard. The money orchard is all the people around you who are also seeking to become money trees. And in a money orchard, when one tree goes down, other trees come forward and send it what is needed. And it's done through the root system. This is truly how real forests in real life take care of one another. There is a network going on underneath in the soil where they support one another, and I want you to feel that with your money tree. Now going up into the trunk of your tree, sense what size that trunk is right now. This is your livelihood. This is how much you are showing up in the world, doing the work that you feel called to do. You might be feeling this tree being small right now. You might feel it being crooked, like the tree that I drew of myself 20 years ago. But I want you to feel now this trunk of yours expanding and filling out more and more layers of bark growing on in concentric circles, expanding that tree outward with every passing year and growing into a mighty oak. Feel the solidness of that tree, the security, the safety, knowing that you are capable of achieving whatever you wish. Now, at the top of your trunk, I want you to sense the base of the branches. Because of the work that you're doing and loving on the roots of your tree and the strong trunk that you're growing, you are growing a strong base to your branches. And this is where all of your money is collecting. It's collecting there, waiting for you to guide it. It's collecting from income that you're happening or that you are earning. It's collecting and getting guided by the ways that you've learned how to manage money and pay bills, and the ways that you learn how to cost save and spend more strategically. and just feel this pooling up of money that's occurring there. And now, out of the base of the branches, if you are in a space to, you can lift your arms up toward the sky and just feel these dreams of yours, these goals, these ambitions. Maybe you want to see your child achieve a certain accomplishment. Maybe you have a desire to experience and travel to see the most beautiful parts of the world. Maybe you want to be able to retire early. Maybe there is an altruistic endeavor, something that you feel called to serve and heal and problem solve in the world, and you want to have money to be able to fulfill that sense of purpose, whether it's a nonprofit that you want to create, or money that you want to donate, or time that you want to give. Maybe it's funding that book that you've always wanted to write, or taking those dance classes, or buying that car if you want. That is what would fill you completely. And just feel the money starting to flow out of the base of the branches up through these branches of your arms, coming out in all directions, as many as you want. And now feel the leaves growing out of the tips of your branches, bringing in the sunshine. Because as you're showing up more and more in the world, these leaves are catching the energy of the sun and fueling you even more. Your fulfillment brings more energy and more fuel for fulfillment. And now, if you like, imagine blossoms on your tree and honeybees coming to visit that tree, cross-pollinating your tree with the blessings and the energy and the magic of the trees around you in the money orchard. This collaboration, this sharing, this influence. And so now you've got honeybees affecting and pollinating your tree above, bringing new juice to what you're about, and the support network going down below in the roots of your tree. And now, last, feel your Creator looking down upon your tree, smiling and admiring all that you are creating. This is what you are being called to do. And when you have a good sense of your tree, you can open your eyes after taking a deep breath and come back. How is that for you,
fun.
Angela?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting to see how my tree looked in the beginning. I had like these really beautiful, like thick roots. You know, the ones that you see kind of growing out of the ground
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the moss growing on them, and then my trunk was like really, really small initially, and then I was able to really expand it out. Um, and then I noticed that my the base of the where the limbs come in, that was my like stuck point. I had trouble with that area. Uh, but then I had the great branches, and I had like cherry blossoms. So it was
Love it.
interesting. Yeah,
Love
it was
it.
interesting just how that one area was like
Yeah.
kind of like tricky for me.
Yeah, yeah. And each person is going to feel it in a different space of their tree. Some people might be really good with that trunk. They can be those six-figure earners or seven-figure earners. But when it comes to like the base of the branches, it's just not collecting for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. And usually it has to do with what's going on either down in the root system of the tree or what's going on higher up in the tree. Like they're like the if so talk to me about, so let's talk about what you were saying. So you
Mm-hmm.
felt it was
So the
stuck right here.
so what I noticed about first about the roots is that they were superficial. So there wasn't
Okay.
really anything that was going too deep, but they were really
Yeah.
like hardy, right? Big roots.
Okay.
But then the trunk was a little small, but then I was able to really
Mhm.
expand that out. And then right at that top part, that's where it just it wasn't easy for me to like manipulate.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because it's just the stuff that it's just the money that's flowing in. So how do you feel with your own money management? So I know that you are a major go-getter. And when I see you, I think of you as having a pretty big trunk.
Mhm.
That your trunk is actually probably stronger than you're allowing yourself to immediately sense about yourself. So I'm glad that you were able to expand that out because you've got a pretty good trunk that's going on.
Mhm.
Up here in that branches, do you feel that money collecting? Do you feel that coming in and being right there?
No. I guess that's the
No.
short
So,
answer.
yeah, okay.
That's I
So,
think most of
yeah.
my life as an entrepreneur I've struggled with like how like what's inside and how it manifests externally into like
Yeah.
what do I what services what things do I provide to people to have that
Right.
money exchange. I'm more of the
Hmm.
I give, but the
Yeah.
the I'm hesitant to ask to receive.
To receive.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's there's a courage that has to happen here. And so what I'm hearing you say then is that there's probably something that's going on here in the roots of your tree.
Hmm.
What are those beliefs? What are those governors that we were talking about earlier? What are those things that might be happening under there that are influencing what's going on here? You've got a strong trunk, but maybe there's some sets of beliefs about your trunk that are not fully activated yet. And that's why you were
Sure.
sensing that smaller trunk right now. So it's getting more into what is that? What how how do we power up your story? And you're
Hmm.
good with things like that. Sometimes the cobbler's children have no shoes, right?
Right.
So it's like the things that we're really gifted at, we suck at doing for ourselves. And I'm included, there's things about this that I suck at, but I'm really good at other things. So
Hmm.
we just have to keep looking at where is this happening. And so what I'm hearing for you is that there's probably some beliefs, probably some things that happened early on in your life that and or things that are you witnessed in your culture somewhere that you've agreed to and you don't know it. And
Hmm.
then empowering up those understandings of why you are amazing and you are worthy of having that income, and then getting really clear and setting up mechanisms to capture that money. So a lot of times what people are missing is they don't even have the mechanisms set up, the automation, the tools to see where that money is even going. And
Hmm.
so that is part of fixing that base of those branches, the base of those limbs.
Hmm. Yeah.
And when that happens, then it starts to get tactical, and then you just start channeling it out into the different branches. Like, oh, well, look at that. There's all this collection. Let's this dream and this dream and this dream and this dream, and that's where it starts to feel really good.
Yeah. Ooh, I can't wait. Can't wait. So I'm curious if we can talk about debt because
Yeah.
with the wonderful economy that we've had over the past 10 years, a lot of
Yes,
people went through um, a lot of hardship, especially in the real estate market. And I know you're
they
familiar with
did.
that. um,
Yes.
so I'm wondering about this debt piece. How
Mm.
do we let go of debt, old debt that we're kind of dragging along with us?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, how to let go of old debt? Debt is something that there's a number of reasons that women will hold on to debt. One is it's just a self-perpetuation. It's a self-perpetuation of our victim stories that we have, that we are trapped, that we can't make a difference, that this is how it's going to be. So there's a powerlessness that's in there. So this is part of the belief system. And there's just a pause button on that for a second. There's a number of archetypes that I work with that were created by a woman named Deborah Price, and that's very integrated into the root system and the work that I do around that. And one of those archetypes or two of them are the victim and the martyr. And with those two particular archetypes, we are self-sacrificing. We are allowing that victim story to rule in our lives, and we allow ourselves to stay powerless. Another one of the archetypes is the innocent, and the innocent chooses to not learn how to do it, how to be powerful and effective with money. So as long as we have those three, one or all three of those archetypes activated in our life, then it's very difficult to start to overcome it. So there's another piece to this, and it has to do with those archetypes and those stories that we tell, and that is, and this happened to me in my second marriage, and I'm still married to this fellow, by the way, but in my second marriage, I'd come out of my first marriage, and I'd changed my outcome, got myself into a really empowered place, and after a lot of work, and I was feeling amazing, and then I married again, and then I went boo. So it's like, I don't know if I can show this to you, but I had my tree was growing, and it was getting stronger and more vibrant. My trunk was growing, my roots, all of that, it was starting to manifest. And I was getting myself out of this kind of very risky, precarious financial situation. And then I married this guy who liked to spend. And I wanted him to manage the money, because that's what men do, right? They manage the money for us. We might pay the bills. A lot of women, stay-at-home moms and women, are really good at paying the bills, but they suck at managing like the bigger aspects of money. And so I would pay the bills, but man, I wanted him to come on, baby, invest, and I'd throw him look, there's a training program here, and here's a book from the library, and I did that for a year, 2 years, and the debt just kept mounting. And at one point we had more it was like $138,000 in debt that didn't have to do with our house. And I went, holy shit, this is a problem. And we'd had our first baby, and I thought, what am I setting up for my child with this? And so this dread, anxiety, I had to go on anti-anxiety meds for a month or two there, because I was just so riddled with shame and anguish and fear. My husband didn't want to go anywhere with me because I was just a stress monkey walking around. And it was until I stepped into and owned my responsibility as a woman for that debt that it was nearly impossible I couldn't fix it, because I kept trying to put it on to someone else. I had to make that conscious choice that, wait a minute, I can be the change that I wish to see in this situation. And so when we have and we need to release that debt, it's about starting to tell yourself another story. Okay, crap, I've got a lot of debt. How much do I have? Oh, that's a big wake-up call.
Yeah.
So outlining what that debt is, outlining it first. Let's just see. And when I outlined the debt that we had and where I thought our net worth should be, oh my gosh, my stomach was in my throat. I thought I was going to throw up. It was like, I cannot believe we are this age and in this bad of a situation. And so it just started to light a fire. So that's step one, is to outline it. What is it? Let's just step right into it. Just tell me like it is, because we need to know. And then step two is having a system that you can go in and saying, okay, what assets and resources do I have available to me? Maybe it's some money in savings that you really don't need to have that you can pay off high interest debt. Maybe it's a workshop or a program that you can lead and you can pull out of your pocket, or with a little bit of effort create and target a high interest debt and just start whittling it away. So it's developing the system to go in, but you have to look at your assets, the assets that you do have. And that could be money that you have, that could be extra hours that you can work, extra clients you can take on, or new packages and products that you can offer. Maybe just if none of those things are available, sometimes it can be about rolling a debt into something like a lower interest loan and just wrapping it up. Though I rarely recommend that because of how it can impact your credit score.
Sure. Well,
So
and if you're not disciplined, you can just get yourself into even more debt. If you start going and
yeah,
spending, oh, I've got a free credit card here. Let's go get some stuff.
yes, and now you're talking about the fool archetype, and the fool
Mm,
archetype is very careless. They're happy-go-lucky. They can be very generous and give lots of gifts when they don't have it, and they're the ones that you might see in Vegas. You know, it's kind of a bit of a gambling with their money. It's more common than most of us would like to admit, because we've all had our fool moments, where
yeah.
we're just like, okay, whatever, throw caution to the wind, little shopping, retail therapy, a little, give a gift here, look good here. Oh, I deserve it. That new purse that's $300. If you're in debt, off
Yeah.
limits, off limits. It's about honoring yourself. And so there's that spiritual element that's in there with our spending. How does that debt feel in our bodies? I don't know. So if you have debt, I mean, how does debt feel in your body? You know, it,
Well, yeah, I thankfully I got to a place where, because before it ate at me every single day, and
ah,
it felt like almost like I was being hunted, like because I knew it was
mm-hmm.
there. But now I've shifted my perspective on it. So, like, there
Yeah,
feels like a better balance. Like, I don't
better
feel
balance.
like it's controlling, like, my every thought of, can I spend this? Can I? So it's like I don't have the guilt and shame that I used to
That's
about,
there anymore.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've done some deep work to move yourself to that space, and something that you've found empowering,
Hmm.
and that's important. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. I found a path and I found a set of steps, and I just had to start convincing myself, okay, this can be handled. I'm working this, baby,
Yeah.
and we are, so if we can find a more empowered place around it, that's great. Now, if we are um, stuffing it and we've just found a way to make it comfortable for ourselves
Hmm.
and we still have it sitting over there, it's still having an impact on your tree. And it's an unconscious, subtle, energetic impact that's in there, like a virus that's just waiting for its season to come back out again.
Right.
But if we are consciously being and taking empowered actions around it, then our tree is like, oh yeah, baby. All right, let's do this. And it's freeing up more vital resources to fill in the other parts.
Well, and
It's like such honoring himself.
I think that's the scariest part is looking at it, facing
Oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really scary. I mean, there's no way around that. If you have debt
Yeah.
and you don't know what it is and you've been hiding behind it, get out all of your files and figure it out right now. Hair on fire emergency. Figure out your debt.
Yeah. Well, and two, I find that when I start taking action, even if it's the tiniest
Yeah.
action, that I
Yes,
feel like the weight is lifted. It's like, oh, and then I feel like I'm more in control of, the destiny rather than,
that's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So during the meditation, the visualization, you mentioned the money orchard. So why is it
Yeah.
important to have these people around you, this money orchard?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I did, I kind of alluded to this earlier. I interviewed, I don't know, like 75 or so women and talked to them in depth around their feelings and their experiences around money. And a whole lot came out of it, more than we're going to have time to even come close to covering today. But one of the things that they told me was that kind of what we were talking about earlier, and that's that exclusion. That so much of money, because of its more masculine creation and orientation and the way it shows up in the world, it's very individualistic and it's dominating and it's aggressive and it's about competition and control. And that's not women. That's not what drives us. So, what drives us and what these women told me was that they wanted to be in community. They need to talk about this stuff. They need to feel through it. They need to talk about what their kids are expecting of them. They need to talk about that oppression that they're feeling at work. They need to talk about how they're afraid to ask for the money that they feel like they should be asking for. They need to talk about why they have no clue, like, how do I even start an IRA? Because this is really embarrassing to me. What the heck is an IRA? I've heard of it. I know I'm supposed to have one, but I'm really embarrassed, I don't even know what it is. So women need a safe space to have a dialogue about that and let
Hmm.
those feelings of shame, embarrassment, fear, or confusion come out. And so the money orchard is about beginning to surround yourself with people who are also seeking to become money trees, who are also like they're working on their roots. They're working on that trunk. They're working on being better managers and stewards of their money. And they have dreams and goals and visions. Because when they are set up like that, they are the ones who can feed your tree.
Hmm.
And so when you go down, and let me tell you, one of the biggest fears that women have, like the number one fear, I don't know if it's yours, but it's certainly mine, is becoming a bag lady, being out in the
Yeah.
cold and destitute. That is what women fear. It's not the same fear that men have. Men's, I don't even completely know. It's just more about not, being in control of things. But for women, it's that bag lady. And so until she can, have that support network around her and feel really good in her own tree, that bag lady fear is going to be looming out there. And so that's why we want to surround ourselves in an orchard. And as I mentioned in that kind of visualization walkthrough, in real forests, that's truly what happens. And biologists have discovered that there's a whole network of chemical sharing so that when a tree is attacked or some virus or some kind of a wound, whether from a pest or weather, that the other trees are able to send it some of the biochemicals that it needs to heal itself, sustain itself, recover.
I love that.
And so we need that. We as women need that because I'll tell you what, we are busy. We have a lot going on. We have a lot of stakeholders in our lives who are expecting a lot from us. We have a lot of emotion and we're working with less. And so it's like we have to learn how to lift each other up. Now, not to have the money orchard seem completely like it's just women, though, because we also need a hand from men. So it's okay and good to have men in your money orchard because they too are going to have some different perspectives that will be valuable and viable
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say that I'm sure that they, because they have a different perspective with money and other issues, it's like we can look to them to see how do they relate to money. And
Yes. Yes.
I think that there's a lot to learn. Yeah.
Tremendous amounts. And I, for the other thing that I have um, seen too from the research that I've done and also from all the interviews, Angela, is that women really want kind of a system. They want to be able to understand money in a more organic way. And
Hmm.
the way that men approach it, and it's important to understand it, even with like the money trees in the forest, if you have a male money tree, the way that they see money is often much more fragmented. It's pieces. It's like, do this, how to do this. And then there's this. And they are, some of them, not all of them, there's a lot of guys who are suffering the exact same things that we are, just in different ways. But they see the world and the financial world is very constructed in fragmented ways, again, that are masculine and aggressive and that are, uh, you know, in language. It's more of a gendered language that's oriented more towards men because it's men writing it.
Hmm.
So there's very little that's out there that's written and done for women. And so when women go to approach the money thing, it feels like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't me. This feels uncomfortable. I mean, some of you know, oh, I can't remember his name right now. I should because it's tough on my tongue. But he does a lot of debt stuff, and it's very Christian oriented. And I think his programs are really good, but he's very in your face. And I wish I could remember his name right now. I can see his books. I can see his face, and
Is
I'm
it
having
Dave
one of those.
Ramsey?
Yes, yes, thank you, Dave Ramsey. And I find that for a lot of women, he's a major turnoff. Like the kind of women that I tend to work with, a major turnoff. Some of them get inspiration from him, and I will recommend him, but with that caveat that he might be a major turnoff.
Yeah.
But men just kind of see stuff more as like, "Argh." But I found that women want it to have a more holistic, natural, feminine feel to it that is integrated and is not fragmented, that shows them how the pieces start to fit together. Because we have a book on this, on investing, and then we have a book on this, and then a book on this, and a book on IRAs, and a book on debt, and those are important, and now women should be reading those. But until we understand how they all fit together in the framework
Hmm.
and kind of the sequence in which we can flow through them, it's like, where the hell do I start? And
Right.
so most times we have no clue where to start. So like
Yeah.
with things like with debt, what do we do instead? We go, oh, I don't want to look at it. Oh, I don't know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the great lesson is own your worth and ask for what you need. Be willing to ask for what you need. Have that courage. And then take responsibility and look at your stuff.
Look at your
Yeah.
stuff. Exactly.
Look at your stuff and
And find
yeah.
ways to make it feminine for you, and talk with women about it. I mean, any kind of activist movement, I kind of consider myself something of a financial feminist, but any kind of activist movement requires that one person kind of starts and then she tells two friends and so on and so on. And so it's like just we remove what is kind of that overarching dictator, that limiter on our lives, and that big one that's right up there is taboo around money.
Hmm.
So we've got all
Yeah.
these things that are going on underneath the surface, Angela, that we can't talk about because you're not supposed to talk about it. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. So if we can't talk about this stuff, how do we start to feel it? And until we
Hmm.
can say to each other, yeah, I'm feeling this. What how can I make this better?
Yeah.
And so having that community and opening up the conversations and getting comfortable and talking to your girlfriends about money. Just bring it up.
Yeah,
You're going to
I
watch a
know.
lot of them cringe. They're going to
Yeah.
cringe. And a lot of them are going to say, oh, and this was something that was funny. And this is kind of what drove me into the work. I remember standing on a street corner waiting for one of my children's bus to come back one day. And I was talking to another mom that was also waiting for her child. And I was asking her something about if she was going to protest the taxes on her home. And she looked at me and she goes, oh, I don't do that stuff. My husband handles that. And it was like this badge of pride.
Yeah.
This badge of pride, like, oh, no, I'm a woman. I don't talk about those things. That's for the men to do. And it was like, it was taking pride in her own disempowerment. And that's how I saw it. And I thought, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I the only one that wants to talk about money? Is something wrong with me? Why is my husband not doing it? And it triggered all that stuff all over again. And meanwhile, I'm becoming a money coach at this point. And that's really what drove me and like spiked my passion. Like, wait a minute. If this is what women are doing, this is not okay, and I have to make a difference with this. So it was a huge wake-up call to me, because it was like that single moment symbolized so much of what I see out in the world, and that's that chosen powerlessness that doesn't have to be there. It just doesn't have to be there. I mean, you just start doing things. There's so many books. There's so much available on the internet. There's programs like the beta program I'm going to be launching. I mean, there's just so much available that you don't have to have it be this way anymore. You just don't. And there's women who are ready to do that with you.
Yeah. Wow. This is a powerful conversation. I think that this, what we talked about is going to catalyze people into action. And I hope so.
I do
maybe
too.
not right away, but maybe a few days after this conversation. And so I thank you for bringing this empowerment to the community, because I think it is something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
And we're in changing times. And so
we are.
No better time to claim
now.
your power than now. Yeah. So thank you, Kelly, for joining me today.
Oh, you are welcome. It's been my absolute pleasure, Angela.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.